But one of the things that it took me about 1.5 years to learn is there are times where we can't make a student work. We can't.
Yeah.
And that was such a struggle for me because over and over and over again, it was like, no, but you have this homework, you have this worksheet, we need to finish this classwork, we need to push, and push. And in all actuality, we need to meet the student where they're at. But if they aren't willing to work, then we need to be quick to supporting the student and say, let's take a break, okay? Let's take a break. Let's do some breathing exercises.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Cheala Herrera. Cheala is the plans coordinator at Cap Rock Academy, which is in Grand Junction, Colorado. Boy, Cheala, I had to say that 3 times before I got it right. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Janet, for having me today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit and tell our listeners a little bit about you and how you got to the position that you're in and a little bit about what's going on at Caps Rock.
Sounds great. So I currently live a very blessed life with my husband, our 2 dogs, and our 8 chickens.
Wow.
I was born and raised in Southern California, and I moved to Colorado back in 2006. So this July will make actually 20 years of me calling Colorado my home.
Awesome.
Since moving to Colorado, I've had the opportunity to teach, volunteer, coach, direct, and work with individuals of all ages and abilities. I volunteered with Special Olympics of Colorado as a coach for 7 years, served in a youth and children's ministry for over a decade, and built strong community connections while recruiting girls to join Girl Scouts of Colorado. The 3 years here at Cap Rock, I've been a paraprofessional, middle school ELA, so language educator for both 7th and 8th graders, as well as my current role is a plans coordinator. So the plans coordinator role that I fulfill right now, I service students on IEPs, I service students on 504 plans, and I service students on ELL, which is like multilanguage learners here at Cap Rock. So these are just a few of the things that I do at Cap Rock is servicing multi-diverse abilities and different students.
So you've done all of these different things. I kind of get the progression, but what made you go from Girl Scouts into education?
So my heart has always been very well rooted in connecting with my community. I have a heart of giving back to the community. I'm very passionate about supporting students with life skills, connecting families with resources, building strong partnerships between families, and educators now moving into this home base of Cap Rock community. So pretty much what tugged my heart to moving in more of an educator role is really, I can only do so much recruiting girls. I was never a leader of a Girl Scout troop. So I wanted to kind of more so transition into being a leader of students where I could be more impactful and have that one-on-one or small group or meet the individuals in a classroom setting where I can really support them and be more of like a hands-on support for those students, whether it looks like pulling out a book that they're supposed to be reading, whether it's helping them scribe to take notes. It could be pulling out a student to support them with their reading fluency. It could also be giving a student a break. We all need breaks, right? So at times my role changes from a day-to-day basis. I don't really have a set routine at Cap Rock. I kind of fly at the seat of my pants where I transition as I'm needed. But then also I have more of a database role as well, where I'm the one developing and collecting those observations, the parent input, the teacher input, the student input, the administration input to create, collaborate, connect, and communicate with all of these parties and facilitate these 504 and ELL meetings and really just come together as one unit and discuss what are the supports, what are the struggles, what can we do better.
Mhm.
And what that looks like is sometimes what can we do better is a question I ask the parents. Parent support when a kid
Yeah.
goes home from school, parent support is such a high need that we need to be able to work together. That connection with our parent support is so empowering that in order us to be better equipped and meet these students' needs, we have to hold all of ourselves accountable. And we also have to do that with love, but also give appropriate consequences. Just because a student may have an impairment, which could be ADHD, autism, Asperger's, dyslexia, dysgraphia. Maybe it's their native language isn't English. No matter their impairment or their ability, we still have to hold the students accountable. We still have to support them. And one of the things that I learned over time and time again was our students sometimes don't want to work.
Mhm.
And I can
True.
relate to
Yeah.
that, all
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah,
There are
for sure.
times I don't wanna show up to work.
Mhm.
I don't wanna walk my dog. I don't wanna go out and, um, have to, respond to a code call on campus where I have a dysregulated student pulling things off the walls or grabbing pencils or, um going into the opposite sex's bathroom, like there are so many obstacles and issues that we go through and support on a daily basis that we all have to collaborate, we all have to work together as one partnership. And
Mhm.
so moving forward with my role at Caprock, I just want to love these kids. I want to support them the best way I can. But one of the things that it took me about a year and a half to learn is there are times where we can't make a student work. We
Mhm.
can't.
Yeah.
And that was such a struggle for me because over and over and over again, it was like, no, but you have this homework, you have this worksheet, we need to finish this classwork, we need to push, push, and push. And in all actuality, we need to meet the student where they're at. But if they aren't willing to work, then we need to be quick to supporting the student and say, let's take a break. Okay, let's take a break. Let's do some breathing exercises. Let's be mindful because our other friends are trying to learn in the classroom
Mhm.
while our instructors are giving um, their teaching support and or an aide is busy with another classroom. We need to be mindful. Sometimes what that could look like is a student stepping out of the classroom with an adult, always
Right.
supervised,
Yeah.
and walking to the end of a hallway, walking back, getting a drink of water. There were times where sometimes it was like clockwork for me. If a student was dysregulated, I knew like time management. I knew it would take 45 minutes for me to help decompress and re-regulate an individual student to come back to and support them and say, okay, this is where we're at, this is what you missed, and follow through and maybe they're not ready to go back to class. So maybe the opportunities we have is let's collect your classwork and let's go to another safe place, maybe another quieter place, maybe it's a dean's office, and we sit together and we begin working together. Sometimes in those scenarios, I'll set a timer, 10 minutes, give me 10 solid minutes of work. and then we can play hangman on a whiteboard or something like that, where we're still um, focusing on letters and words, and making it somewhat fun, but also being mindful that whatever a student misses in their class time is homework, right? So if they miss that class time, they're going to struggle to get back and complete their work. So a lot of times I'm known for my patience at CAFRAC, as well as sometimes I do too much and I have a hard time saying no. Um, but that's also like one of the gifts I feel like I have is meeting those students where they're at.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact too that you recognize that there are consequences for their actions, and that it's not just you have a disability so you get a pass. That's not the reality of
Absolutely.
the world that they live in or the world we live in. None of us get a pass. Nobody's gonna, and that's I think that's part of what we've seen in a shift in society where people think they should get a pass, and it's like, well, you can take that pass, but if you take that pass, understand that X, Y, and Z is going to happen, and that's on you, not on anybody else. And then they're shocked. It's like shocking that, wow, So, and that's an executive function that these kids needs to know and
Absolutely.
understand, and understand that, yeah, you can have a bad day. Absolutely. Absolutely have a bad day. Everybody has bad days. I have bad days. It's just, we're human. But understanding that homework, that schoolwork, the rest of the people in the classroom are not responsible for your bad day or your
Right.
dysregulation. We'll help you through it. We absolutely will help you through it, and we'll love you through it. But that doesn't mean that you get to not do anything. It's just like, hey,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
And
so
that's
good.
kind of a little bit of the push and pull that we get from families. I like to say families because sometimes students are separated from their families. And so it's not always they have both mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's they live with an aunt, or maybe they're a, a child of the foster care system, or maybe they're adopted. And so most of our kids, I mean, I look at life and I go, if we all had we all might have a diagnosis of some kind, some sort, or we all have been exposed to some form of trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it goes to connecting with those families and asking for their support at home, meet us at the same page.
Mm-hmm.
We're disciplining here, and if you at home are just allowing more and more screen time, more and more time to play, more and more of these other obstacles, and missing out on a little bit of homework time, right?
Right.
Set a timer for an hour. Set a
Yeah.
timer for an hour. And after that, set the timer for 15 minutes. Give the student a break. Set the
Yeah.
timer again for another hour. Follow through at home. Like that in itself, if we had every family member support the students that are in education right now, I mean, our our world could look differently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for
Really
sure.
could. Really
Yeah.
could.
There is a crisis in this country, a massive shortage of special education teachers. We know how devastating this can be for your students, families, and staff. Lighthouse Therapy places experienced special education teachers in virtual, hybrid, and on site roles, and we handle everything from hiring to onboarding to mentorship. These aren't just placements, they're professionals who understand compliance, collaboration, and care. Let us help you fill in the gaps with special education teachers who really understand. We are here to help. Visit lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together to connect with us today.
And the best part is when I have those conversations in those in-person meetings, and when I have like a high school student, right, just not want to do the work at home. And so I ask them, what time do you get home from school? 4. Okay. what time do you have practice? For 2 hours. So 6 o'clock they get home from
Mm-hmm.
practice. Okay. What time is too late? Too late that you go to bed? 2 a.m. Okay, let's just
Oof.
say 11. Let's just say 11
Yeah.
p.m.
Yeah.
So from 6 to 11, you're eating dinner, and that still leaves you with a few hours, right? A
Mm-hmm.
few hours to knock out your homework.
Right.
So don't tell me that we don't have time. It's about training ourselves to make the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's one of the things is very interesting. So a few Sundays ago, um, I was listening to a really good message by one of the senior pastors, and one of the conversations and that I've had following me from that day was basically we have to train ourselves to do things. If we say we are trying gives us that little idea in our head that we can't do something, that we're failures. So if we train ourselves, right? If we train and start new habits, we can be so successful,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can learn things. And so I just love the fact that even though I have conversations internally with staff, sometimes I don't feel like I'm getting all the answers I need, right? On campus with my friend group, but sometimes hearing those messages, those sermons at church feed in and are so relational to where I'm personally at in my life, and I'm able to take that message and translate it into my everyday job.
Right.
And that's really the power in my eyes of God and how he uses me through these experiences.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so great because it just there's so many things that you can take from your spiritual experiences into your work experiences, and from your work experiences into what you need help from God with, and where
Absolutely.
God's going to work in your life. God doesn't work in just one little section, and the hard part is he doesn't all work on only the things that you want him to work on either.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, no, I don't want to hear that right now, Lord. I don't want to work on that right now. But you have to, I mean, because
Yeah.
he isn't gonna just address what you want him to address. He's going to address all of it and show
A
you
larger picture.
where, yeah, the spirit's going to guide you, and where you need to improve, or where you need to listen better, or whatever. And not everybody believes the way you and I believe, but I do think that um we are all prompted to do things, and whether or not you believe that's the Holy Spirit is up to you. But
Right.
but there is that, some people call it consciousness, someone call it karma, call it whatever you want to, but God he's so involved, and he's omniscient, and he's omnipresent. So he knows everything. So trying to hide something from him ain't gonna happen.
Right.
So,
Right.
I've been there,
Yeah.
I think I got a medal in that one. So it's funny because he was really tapping me on the shoulder for 2 years before I started Lighthouse. I started Lighthouse in
Really.
2018. And he was like, I want you to, in the 2 years before that, he kept saying, there's something better for you. And I didn't want to hear it. I just didn't want, I'm comfortable. I like right here. I like where I'm at. I like where my kids are at. I like where my life is at. I'm good. I'm really good. And then all of a sudden it wasn't so good anymore. And now I've got a problem. And then he comes to me and he says, I want you to do this. And I'm like, that's hard. I can't do that. And it's so funny because I tell people this story, it's like, Lord, I kept saying, Lord, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And he tells me, literally, audibly, I heard, I want you to start your own company. And I went, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. And the only other thing, because this is the relationship I have with God, he says, excuse me? Like, hello, you've been asking and asking. And then when I actually audibly tell you, you're going to give me a hard time. So I was like, whoop,
Right.
okay, okay, okay. And it's been a beautiful, hard, not easy ride ever since, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. So I think the things that you're talking about go right along with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting because it's one of the things that I love to do every morning is The minute that I leave my driveway, I'm blaring Christian radio station, and I just have to have that time just to get me in a great place to start my morning, right? Because no matter what happened yesterday doesn't define who these students are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we need to give students the opportunity to make better decisions,
Yeah.
to move forward. And sometimes like I go back to um one of the songs that I listen to. I can't remember the artist, but talking about, you know, that's when God's not done with you yet, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of one of those things. There's always something more that we can give, that we can offer, and it's really up to us how far of a distance we're willing to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um because a big part of it is, I look at life and I wouldn't be who I am and what I'm doing without that guidance
Right.
and without the experience that, in my eyes, he prepared me for.
Yeah. All of the things that you do in your life. That's like when people say, like, would you go back and you change this thing? And I was like, no, because I didn't. It was a tough road, but I had to go through
Yeah.
that road to get to here. Right. And all of the things that we've done in our lives are the things that bring us to who we are today. Now, there are
Right.
people that have had trauma and horrible trauma, and I would never say to that person, you needed to go through that to get to, and don't hear that from me. But there are so many things in my life that I look back on, and they're the lessons that God was walking through me through my own valleys of
Right.
this, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'm with you. God's with me
Mhm.
through all of it. That's Psalm 20, part of Psalm 23 for those of you that don't know. But it's just a part of who we are and what makes us better at what we do. And I love that. I love that. I love that we can have this
Yeah.
conversation on this
Me too.
show in education. And, it's like not everything is always in education black and white. It's never going to be just black and white. So having the opportunity to have conversations to say, we love these kids. We want these kids to be successful. We want to help them to be accountable and understanding and giving them the skills, those executive function skills to go, oh yeah, I really kind of have to organize my day, my evening, my whatever in order to get to the next thing that I need to do. So with all of that said, I'm going to ask you this question. I don't ask everybody, but I ask it pretty often. So if you could fix just one thing in your world, can't be money, because we all know that every school needs more money, right? Money is definitely something that all schools say, gosh, I wish we had more of. If you could just, and I say miraculously because I'm a Christian, right? But if you could miraculously fix one thing in your world that is related to your job, what would that one thing be? You never have to worry about it again. What would that one thing be?
I would really have to say communication.
Huh, okay.
Communication. I think that's the key to, and it's not necessarily like going against what I'm doing or for what I'm doing. It's communication in general, right? Like
Mhm.
if we don't connect and communicate, we're never going to get to a place where everybody's agreeing on something.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if everybody doesn't agree, at least we heard each other,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, because I think sometimes that lack of hearing. I always tell people when I do this podcast, well, I'm just the active listener in the room, but it takes work. Active
Right.
listening takes work. You have to pay attention to what's being said and to the conversation, because if you don't do that, you lose the thread. That's a bad thing, especially when you're doing a podcast.
Right.
So
Right.
so I totally agree with you. That's a great answer. So where, Cheala, should people go if they want to learn a little bit more about Caprock Academy or maybe even you?
In order to get more information on Caprock Academy, you can go to www.caprockacademy.org. We are a charter school here in Grand Junction, Colorado. You can be in touch with me by calling the school's phone number and they can transfer you over to me. The school's phone number is 970-243-1771. You can also find me on Facebook. I believe my username, I don't really check it often, but in terms of knowing what my profile name is, but I believe my profile name is Cheala Marie, and there's probably a photo of me and my husband back when we first started dating.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Shayla, it has been a pleasure to have you on the Brighter Together podcast. Keep working with those kids. It's a beautiful thing what you're doing. And just thank you for being on Brighter Together.
Thank you so much for having me, Janet. Have a great day.
Absolutely. God bless you.